In this one, I'm going to be taking a look at the community's response to Battlefield 2042 by going through some of the most popular Reddit posts from the past week. This tends to be quite a good way of gauging the overall opinion of the community. You do get a lot of extremes on Reddit, that is for sure. There's some good information on here though, and I'm fairly sure most of you will agree or potentially understand a few of the points that have been made. Let's get into it. At the top of the list, of course, there's a couple of videos. The first one that we see is a clip from Broken Machine. He is flying across the map, just showing how big some of these maps are, and I think that's a really good place to start. The map size is borderline ridiculous on a few of the maps. It depends what you're into really on Battlefield. I think that personally they're just way too big and impossible to balance. Maybe it takes something away from the game, but at the same time, you do get these epic moments. Here we've got a wingsuit flying across the map. I mean, if this was a single player game, I'd be incredibly impressed. It looks brilliant. For a multiplayer game, I don't know, is this something that you really enjoy? Was 128 players and maps that are miles bigger than anything else we've seen something that you wanted to see? Potentially. Still, this is quite an interesting clip. Look how far he's gone with this wingsuit. Potentially you could get across the entire map with a wingsuit. There doesn't seem to be too much drop. Quite a powerful tool in the right hands. Next we have a post from Chest Putrid 2050. We need to do something about this. It's one of the concern posts. You can see on the top there's that concern flare. That basically helps you filter out what's in the subreddit. So they're essentially saying that we need a scoreboard. He's saying, I don't know why this whole subreddit isn't blowing up about this already. To be fair, if I just go off on a tangent here, a lot of people have been saying we need a scoreboard from the beta, or at least a scoreboard that is more similar to what we've had in previous games. I'm not sure why DICE got rid of it. It's a very simple thing in Battlefield, a scoreboard. Sure, you could say it's egotistical, whether you get more kills than the person next to you. It doesn't matter. You don't have to look at it if you don't want to. It should be in there. And as he's saying in this, it's not just a staple of Battlefield, but literally every single FPS game out there has one. It's not acceptable, and 7.7k people have upvoted this. When asked about it, apparently, somebody said at DICE said it's hard to fit 128 players on the scoreboard. Yeah, that's a load of rubbish. I'm sorry. They've had it in Battlefield 4 where you play a 64-player game of Rush and it only shows you the top half of the scoreboard. That would be the easiest fix. Potentially not a great fix, but you could still have a scoreboard. Surely you can scroll through the scoreboard. You could have a scoreboard that only shows you where you are on the scoreboard and there are like 10 people above you, 10 people below you. I'm sorry, that's just not a very good excuse from DICE at all. They should bring a scoreboard in. My guess is the reason they haven't got a proper scoreboard is because they didn't think about it. They tried to be clever, include something new, or potentially it crashes the game or something. You never know with these sort of things. Next down, a clip from Tipmaster. This is about the chat. There is no all chat. No death comms, no all chat, no scoreboard. Again, a link to the scoreboard. I grew up when FPS was played at LANs and you shit talked your way into 1v1s, wages and grudge matches. We might as well be playing bots. There's no emotional energy to the game anymore. Well, you might actually be playing bots on a few of your games there, Tipmaster, so I don't think a chat would be that useful. I don't agree with the shit talking in Battlefield. I mean, yeah, it's funny. I made a load of chat reactions videos back when I started YouTube. You probably remember them. Some were quite popular, where you'd shoot somebody and they'd get angry and flame you in a foreign language or some bad English, and yeah, that is really, really funny. But if DICE are going down a different path where they don't want any toxicity in the game, I'm okay with that, providing that they actually go all in and get rid of toxicity. If getting rid of the chat is one of those options, then whilst I don't really agree with that because I do like a chat, if it's part of that overall removal of toxicity and it actually works, okay, I can get on board with that. He did mention though no death comms and no scoreboard. Death comms, again, one of the toxicity things. Personally, I'd want it in the game, but I can see why they haven't got it. The scoreboard though, no excuse. That should be in the game from the release. There's no doubt about that at all. Again, another post about the scoreboard, another post about the scoreboard. We'll just leave those because it's more of the same. Here we have a clip from ZT Snyder. Hovercraft sticks to walls and other stuff. Enjoy. Yes, the physics or physics, whatever you want to call them in Battlefield, tend to be pretty extreme. It doesn't matter what game you're playing, whether it's Battlefield 4, some older Battlefields, or even 2042. The physics just tend to be a little bit odd. The vehicle physics aren't great in 2042. I think they're really basic. I was hoping the beta was like a placeholder for physics and we'd potentially get some new updated ones for 2042. It doesn't seem to be the case. This hovercraft, by the way, is incredibly powerful. It is one of the most broken vehicles in the game. I have a friend who was just dominating in it because of how quick and how powerful the weaponry is on the vehicle. So you might see some of that in the top plays when I get around to making one, hopefully towards the end of this week. Another little snippet here, a screenshot from Deadly Puppeteer, looking at an error. You will get error messages at the start of Battlefield 2042 when you're moving to other maps, potentially some won't load. Now, when you look at a new game that comes out that's been in beta, we've played it, it's then been in development for a long time beforehand, you expect it to release in some sort of playable state. Battlefield 4, and I know I always link to BF4, but it is the game I made this channel about and for, and it is my favourite Battlefield game, that released in an unacceptable state. It was genuinely unplayable. Any Battlefield game that releases in that sort of state should be treated very similarly, and Battlefield 4 was ripped to shreds. DICE fixed it, and then the community loved it. 2042 has come out in a better state than BF4, but not really by a lot. Now, that might be difficult because BF4 was a mess, but 2042 runs really poorly on PCs, and this really is a problem. When you've got a really high-end PC and you've spent a fortune on a graphics card, and you're getting 60 and 70 FPS, that's not acceptable. Now, I might have high standards for games, I don't know, but I think that an FPS game, you should get 144 FPS on PC, on medium settings, on just an average rig. That might be something ridiculous that I'm saying there, but I think that's the standard that I expect from a AAA game like this. Why they haven't been able to do that, I don't know. Maybe there's something that they need to sort out with the performance, the stability of the game, potentially the optimization just wasn't there. They didn't have the time to put that through, and maybe they need a few more months before they can get there. I don't know, but I think we all can agree that it's a bit rough around the edges 2042, and it takes away from the gameplay. That's the biggest problem. A more comprehensive list next that has 4.8k upvotes from Afterlife. This is a list of issues with Battlefield 2042 and what needs to be changed and fixed. Before I go through these, you can see that it is quite a comprehensive list, so I'm not going to go through them in detail that much. And if you look down at the comments below, there is a lot of discussion as well, bringing a few more little things that need to be changed and added to the game. I would suggest that you go and check out this Reddit post. You'll find it on the Battlefield 2042 subreddit. As I said, a post from Afterlife, posted a day ago, it might be a day and a half ago by the time this video comes out, and it is a comprehensive list of issues. So no scoreboard, we've already been through that. No scoring system, links into the scoreboard, I suppose. I guess this is something that people want because they've had it in other Battlefield games, and with DICE, you know that they like to change things for the sake of changing things. This is something they shouldn't have changed. No stats page, again, linking into this scoreboard. No scoring system, no server browser. I don't know about server browsers. I think that if you click player in experience and it throws you into that experience at the start of a game, it potentially removes any of this team stacking problem that you might see where servers just roll on and one team gets stomped. I don't know about server browsers. If there's one in Battlefield Portal, then I'm okay with not having one in the other experiences. That's just a personal opinion. Players do not carry over to the next match and your lobby disbands. Again, it links into server browsers. That is a different approach DICE have taken. I don't particularly like it, but I can see where they're coming from. No real class system. I've complained since the moment we saw specialists. We need classes back in Battlefield 2042. It's a core pillar of the franchise. Why DICE think they can just remove it and get away with it, I do not know. 2042 will struggle. The only thing that might save it is Portal, because people can actually create a gaming experience that is fun, and DICE don't seem to be capable of making the difficult decisions. When somebody comes in with a silly idea in that studio, somebody needs to put their foot down and say, no, this is what we're doing. We're making a proper Battlefield game. We're not going to go for the gimmicks or make something silly. We're going to come up with a good Battlefield game that people will love and enjoy. It will create a legacy that we've played for 3 or 4 years and boost this franchise back off the ground, because it really seems to be struggling at the minute. No factions, no friendly enemy distinctions. Again, links into specialists. Everyone knows this. If you're a casual player and you're jumping on just to play, my guess is it isn't a problem. But for those that are really invested in Battlefield, and we do like to see factions, work out who we're shooting at, all the little cues that you get, visual, audio, whether it's something to do with the weapon that you see that enemy player having, or potentially something to do with their makeup or costume of the character, and you're like, yes, I know exactly what they have, I know what skills or attributes that class might have, and I know how to face them. Really, really important to have in an FPS game. I'm guessing this could be really, really annoying for you. The removal of movement mechanics and animations, yeah, maybe. I think that there's a lot that changes between Battlefield games. I didn't like all the mechanics in Battlefield 5 personally, crawling and climbing over walls. I like old school Battlefield 3 movement, but there we go. I guess that is to your own opinion. Again, overall movement, I don't mind it in the beta. The main game, yeah, take it or leave it. I don't really know. Weapon animations, not too bothered. I think they were at their height in BF1 and they've gone downhill since then. No squad spawn screen. Yep, that's a pain, something that we've lost again. The sounds, I've listened to the sounds and footsteps and everything. It's just a complete muddle in 2042. Decreased weapon variety, agreed. There's not very many weapons in the game. You can be damn sure that there'll be more though if you've got the money to pay for them through the season passes. Just bear that in mind. Lesser destruction, I think that goes in with the fact that we've got larger maps, so less can happen across the space of the map, as there's just not enough power within the engine to have that much in terms of assets and different vehicles across the map. And however the developers are going to explain that, I'm not too sure, but essentially if you've got a larger map, less can happen. If you've got a smaller map, you can fit more on it. So there we go. That's probably why we've got lesser destruction. Again, he goes on to a bunch of other things, and it's just disappointing. I think he's gone into a lot of effort to come up with these issues and points, and I have to agree with them. Next up, a post from Eths. This is a list of all the weapons in Battlefield Portal at launch. This is an interesting one to look at the comments. A lot of people getting hyped about the old school weapons, especially the Battlefield 3 ones. I think that this is something that people are, you know, they should be getting hyped about. Portal is potentially not where it should be right now, but it is an idea, and it is something that could change the way the franchise works. And there's a little comment here that I'm going to highlight, and it says this could be the beginning of EA moving Battlefield to a games as a service type model. Potentially. That is how we're seeing gaming go anyway, but what I'm thinking with Portal is it is the beginning of something very special. If you have a game that is released as this game, and then the next game releases and almost adds into the old game like a big DLC, that is a really interesting strategy. I think that it could be like a hub where you go in and you play all the games and you can mix and match things. Portal, if it's given the right attention and the resources and everything else that goes with it, it could be really, really solid. That is what I'm most excited for with 2042. Honestly, the game right now in its current state, I don't like it. I think it's miles from being where it should be, but Portal is an exciting concept, that's for sure. An interesting post here from Game Fan A, and this is a thank you to DICE for all the great decisions in 2042. And this relates to what I said earlier with the toxicity and how they're trying to combat this. There's a player here who says, "You'd always place at the bottom of the scoreboard and it really damaged my self-confidence and hurt my enjoyment." He then goes on, he doesn't want to play or buy any skins because of how bad he is at the game. Don't even get me started on the server browser. And then it goes on and on and on. Okay, so this is the sort of review that DICE are looking for, I suppose. I kind of understand where he's coming from. I guess that you can wrap everyone up in cotton wool if you want these days and make them feel special. Personally, that's something that you could get into. It's a discussion about society and what's happening. It's just a bit of a nightmare if you want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't think removing the scoreboard is going to improve anyone's self-confidence. I'm sorry. That's just not the way it works. It's like going to a sports day and every child gets a reward instead of the ones that win. Yeah, I don't know. It's not an argument that we're going to be having today or a discussion. I do think, though, this is the sort of post that you need to see because it gives you both sides of the argument. So we do understand that there are some people that like the removal of the scoreboard and others that don't. DICE are probably going to pay more attention to a post like this than the ones complaining about the scoreboard, but there we go. Here we have the final little clip that we're going to look at from Important Age 5772, and they're just explaining how gunfights past around 30 meters feel horribly luck based, and then they're just not knowing where to aim. For me, I think that it is a big problem when you've got weapons that don't deal a whole lot of damage. You've got players that have high health, they potentially have armor plates on as well. You've got massive random deviation with your bullets. It's just a recipe for disaster. They've changed a lot of stuff with the gunplay since the beta, and people seem to enjoy it in the beta. I'm not sure why they've done that. And then you've got people who really aren't enjoying what's going on. I can't say really what DICE are thinking here. If it's anything like Battlefield 5, we're going to flip-flop between different gunplay and different models and mechanics with weapons. Listen, once they hit something that works, I'm sure they'll stick with it, but we are definitely going to see so many changes to 2042 between now and I'm guessing the start of Season 1, which is early next year. Potentially they're going to come up with a big patch that comes out then for Season 1, and that's when the game, in my opinion, will be worth reviewing. Right now, there's just too much in this game that needs to be sorted and fixed. So let me know what you thought of this video, and let me know what you thought of Reddit's opinions. Are they in line with what you're thinking about Battlefield 2042? Is it a game that you are enjoying? Is it a game that you think is released too early? Is it a game that just doesn't have enough content in terms of the weapons, but potentially that's not a problem? Do you miss the scoreboard? Do you miss some of the features that we had in previous Battlefield games? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.